Hey, what's up, you guys? Welcome back to La Pura Neta Show. Our next guest is Anabella, a true example of hard work and dedication. She started her journey at the USPS office, right? If I'm not mistaken. And through determination and ambition, she's now a successful real estate agent, empowering women to chase their goals. She's not only a professional powerhouse, but also a devoted mother and wife. Please help me welcome Anabella.
Estoño, Pepito y
Thank
Flor.
you.
Damn.
Wow. I to do this every day. Love the intro.
Thank you.
I like it. Hey, gracias for you, your husband, for coming out on a Sunday. And we're very excited to have you. You're the second woman to come on board.
Yes, so that's...
And I know you have an amazing story, and we can't wait for everyone to listen to your story.
Thank you.
Yes. I mean, I was gonna say Sunday night, but it's still early. It's just the time change.
Yeah,
It feels like Sunday night. It feels like 8 o'clock. And you know what? It's funny that you were saying the USPS, right? The USPS, which is the United States Postal Service. So being that, we deliver every piece every day. So that's what I'm trying to do. That's my goal, to sell a piece of real estate every single day.
Wow.
So you move, that's how you transition, from one to another. So small fact.
Well, Annabelle, once again, like Yoni said, thank you for taking some time of your busy schedule and scheduling this with us. So let's get right into it. Like we were mentioning earlier, we're going to take us back. Who's Annabelle? You started at USPS. You said you were born here. You go to Mazatlan often. Or what's your background like? Where you come from, your parents? What was your upbringing?
Yeah, my upbringing was very unorthodox, but I guess very similar in the sense of I was born and raised in East LA. Went to Griffith, Garfield, was raised by a single mom. Fun fact though, I was raised by a single mom. I never lived in an apartment. My mom always owned properties. So at a very early age, I was very much translating the real estate contracts. And my mom would always tell me, she's like, you're so good with people. You're so good with these contracts. You should be a realtor. And I would tell her, I remember I was like 8-9 years old. I'm like, no, Mom, I want to be a mail lady. I want to deliver. Yes, I knew that at an early age. And my mom would always tell me, no, but you could be so good at this. So anyhow, I got married young. I was 16. I had mentioned earlier, I had my twins when we were 16. And then I had my third baby by the time I was 19. So lo and behold, here I am in real estate, and now with, grandchildren. My oldest are 34, and then I have a 31-year-old. And from there, so my husband and I have been married for 35 years. With that being said, there's been the trenches, starting, then, working in the post office, having kids. I found out that was very difficult. My husband had a good income, and I figured, but that income also came at a cost because it was very intense labor working graveyard. So I figured, what's a good way to be able to make that income and be able to take him out of his job and still be able to sustain that household? So then I got into real estate, and that's because my mom always told me, just do real estate. So I quit the post office cold turkey. Back then I must have made like $30-$40 an hour. Quit cold turkey, started doing real estate, and 25 years later, here we are.
No, that's question just in what you said. Why did your mom grow up like that, or how did she own real estate, or how did she knew that, like, okay, mija, you should just get into the field, knowing that you wanted to pursue a mail carrier role?
I don't know. I mean, it was just one of those things where I think you're born with it. And because now I see it in my grandbaby. He's very, very, I see a 2-year-old, and there's 2-year-olds that are very like, he has figured out how to give me a system. Like, he gives me chores to benefit him, and he's only 2. So I figured, I know it's crazy. So I think with my mom, because she maybe had a grade level, of education of 5th grade. And so when she moved from Mexico, she came here at the age of 16, sleeping on the streets, homeless. Wow. And within 6 months, she had herself acclimated. She started bringing her family. And then she figured out right away that the only way to succeed was not to be at the mercy of the landlord. So she just started buying property. And then when she started buying property, the one thing is that she never did was she never dominated the language. So that was where she, she had challenges. So then once she had me learn how to translate everything. So it was funny because I was maybe 8-10 years old and I was translating these one-page forms for her, and I would go into the real estate offices and I would start conversations with the realtors and ask them this and ask them this and ask them this. And my mom's like, you have a really good way with people, you should really do this and you understand the contracts. But I'm like, Mom, that's something different. But me, I always wanted to be a letter carrier. So that's why I got into the post office. I said, you know what, great benefits, great job, I'm going to do this. But then I found out the hard way that, maybe it wasn't the best use of time. And I said, well, maybe, I should just please my mom, right? Just do it, please my mom. So I ended up, I bought my first home when I was 18 years old. And in doing so, the realtor that helped me, it was a horrible transaction. I lost so much money. And I told my mom, you know what, maybe you're right. Maybe I should get it just so the next time I buy a property, no one screws me over. And that's how I ended up getting my license. And then I started getting leads and I would give them to the other realtors. And then my family would tell me, no, but I want you to help me. So then I started helping them, and that's how I ended up in real estate. I'm like, oh, I could do this. So
I'm guessing, so you said at 16 you became a mom, right? From then to 19 you became a mom again, right? How was that, for all the young mothers that are out there, how was that? Was that a little challenging? I know you had a good support system with your husband, right? But, because when you're 16, 17, 18, usually the average kid is still kind of like in the high school, college. How was that for you?
I can't say it was challenging because I didn't know any different. So I think if I would do it again, I would probably do it sooner. And I know I shouldn't be saying this, but because I felt like it gave me a roadmap, if you will. Like, if I do this, I have to do this. But because I had the babies, then I had to learn how to save money. And because I wasn't old enough to have credit or debt, I was able to save faster. So that way, at the tender age of 18, we had 20% down to buy our first home.
Wow.
You see what I'm saying? So
yeah.
it was always like a roadmap. Okay, now we did this. Now I'm thinking, okay, I'm 18. I have to pay off this house. I'm going to be 50 sooner than later. So now I need a retirement plan. So I'm like, okay, let me go apply to the post office. So that's how everything's transitioned into like growth. It's always about thinking growth. Will it matter 5 years from now, 5 years from now, 5 years from now? So that's how I've always worked my life, if you will.
I think you bring a very good point there, because it's all perspective. Because anybody else le pasa algo, you become fácil. You could just kind of give up on your dreams and stuff like that. But you saw it kind of like, it's almost like your back was against the wall. You're like, we cannot fail.
Yeah.
So then that gave you kind of like inspiration, I would say, no?
You know what? It's crazy. No, it's crazy that you do say that, Yoni, because it's true. Because I've always been to the point where it's like, there's no option. If you're not given an option, what would you attempt to do if you believed you could not fail? As beings, I think we have such limited beliefs that if we were just to think the opposite and always find a reason why you can do this, I think we could do anything.
Wow.
Yeah, right.
That's very powerful. And I'm gonna hog the next question there, because I do believe that a lot of the path of decisions we take influences a lot on your peers. Who are you surrounding yourself? Did you surround yourself, or what made you kind of think this way? Because it sounds like you were thinking in a very smart, wise way so young.
I think it was my mom. My mom, because my mom would always, when I would say, I want to do this, you could do it. You want to do this, you could do it. I never got a no. So everything I attempted to do, it's like she would always tell me. And I think it's more so because of that, because she never told me I can't do it, no matter what it was. And I always saw her, like, I was like, wow, like, that's my mom, So I kind of wanted to have that for my kids. Like, when they saw me, they're like, yeah, that's my mom,
Yeah, well, there's I don't remember which book, but there's one of those books that says that the most that eliminate the word no from your kids.
Yeah.
Regard, kind of like frame it different. Like,
Yeah.
hey, I want that candy. Oh, maybe we can have it later on. But instead of saying no, because it's such a hard statement, and then subconsciously you start programming their mind of no. That no is actually like a really bad thing, right? So, yeah, I don't remember which book because we read a ton of books. So.
But it's crazy that you say that, because I think that I've never read that book. But I do believe that, because with my grandbaby, you know, he lives with us, and I'm always telling him, like, no. I tell the kids, never tell him no, because imagine we're predisposed from a very young age. No. So it's like, it's the no factor, and we're going to go through life through so much negativity. It's like, why not expose them to the yeses? Why not expose them that everything's possible? When you do this, you will get this. And if you do this, you will get this. So they start developing, like, he's only 2 years old and he has a schedule and he follows it and he knows.
I mean, we're already like 5 minutes in and it's already good. Like, what else do you guys want? You know, no, I mean, just whatever Annabelle is saying, like, it's already like super good. Pero, okay, let's take it back to our cultures, our, you know, Mexicans, Latinos. We have that limited mindset. Now, I know a lot of moms who are always either stressed because of their kids. They're always screaming no, or here's the iPad, go over there, don't bother me. What is one now, like you were a mom at a young age, what is some tips you would give to those moms to kind of like get the kids' mindset better from now on after they see this, you know? Because we're so limited on the fixed mindset that we just think that that's it.
You know what, one of the things that, and it's hard, and I know it's not going to sit well with a lot of people, but it's not more what the kids hear you telling them, like, hey, you could do this, but I'm not going to do it. But I know you can, but I can't. It's like, you know what? Come with me. Let's do this together. Like, at a very early age, I would tell them, oh, they wanted to go to Disneyland. Perfect. Let's go do this open house. Let's go knock on X amount of doors. When we're done with these doors, I would always have something at home, like something they could see.
Like
okay,
a reward, no?
Yes. Like, okay, now we're going to do this. And because you did this, we did this. And it was always. And I remember my kids would be so frustrated. We would be on vacation and I was always on the phone. And mind you, I would dedicate a good day amount, you know, but for them, it's like every minute counts because we're always working. So we were on vacation and my kids were like, again, you know, it's like when I was on the phone, you know, that's when they would start complaining. But now in hindsight, when I see them when they're older, it's like I see, wow, it's like they're like, yeah, I can do this. Remember, Mom, this is what you taught me and this is what you can. Yeah, Dad, remember, this is what you used to say and now this is, you know. So my husband was the one that made me aware of that. Like, look at the kids. Now they're talking the way we used to talk to them, you know? And it's like, but you don't realize they're complaining, but they're learning everything. And it was the same thing that I saw with my mom, because my mom was always working. Sometimes she had 3 jobs, 2 jobs, but the one thing, we were never on food stamps. You know, she was a single mom, you know, she always managed, you know, to have the best of the best. And it's like, but she was always working, you know? And I think that's what we learn. And as a child, I used to think like, wow, why can't my mom be a stay-at-home mom? Why can't my mom? And now it's like, I'm blessed because of my mom. I can do what I do because I learned. Like, I had free education. Like, I had the roadmap given to me because I see that, you know, I see that. And not a lot of people have that. And it's like, and I see it especially in the real estate industry because it's really hard to get people to work. People want it, but they don't want the work that comes behind it.
Yeah, and you take me to one of the sayings that I heard it from John Maxwell. I don't know who else said it, but he says that, you know, God's gift to you is let me rephrase it. It says God gave you a gift, right? And your gift to God is how you use that gift, right? So God gave you a really wise mother, and now that you're older, it's up to you whether you give that gift back to God, showing the, you know, blessing other people. And I see that you're doing a little, I wouldn't say coaching, but you're paying it forward to other agents. I see you're in speaking engagements because he's gave you a good gift. You use that gift, and I think you maximize that gift. And now you're at a point where you're paying it forward to the other people.
I love it. That would be my dream. That's why I said as many times as I can go out there, whether it's with the board, you know, whether it's the different real estate office or whether it's one-on-one, you know, I've helped a handful of agents that we all know that were one step away from just leaving the real estate industry. And I'm blessed to say that at least 3 of them, we had that conversation and they've had their best careers yet. And that's one of the things where if you can change just one life, and it's not about selling a home, it's about empowering people. That's why I said that's my job. I want to get so good that I can teach them how to. That's why I said my goal is to do 1, 2, 3 homes a day and teach them you could do this too, right? And then so that, do this for free, do this to empower them to know, and like I said, the day we're gone, we've helped because of us. We did this, so that's my.
That's amazing. So now, how do you guide them or coach them to ignore social media? Because social media, it's like key to a lot of agent success, right? So how do you what do you tell them to not focus in that and prioritize the growth, the learning,
that's one of the hardest things, and I'm blessed because how you had mentioned you are who you surround yourself with. I mean, my husband is so down to earth, and he's always telling me, know your core values, know your core values. If you really follow me, I'm a very lonely soul. I'm always by myself. I'm always either at work or I go home to my family. That's all I do. And it's just knowing who you are and why you're doing this. And it's really not out there in social media because really nobody cares. It's like watching, I think it's an expansion of the news, just in a more pleasant way and a more personable way. But there's nothing good that's going to come out of news. There's nothing good that's going to come out of social media. If anything, right? And it's so hard because I don't think you can teach them. It's just knowing and I tell them, it's just knowing your core values and knowing what's important to you. If it's not going to matter, 5 years from now, don't spend 5 minutes of it. And it's the same thing. That's why I said my social media is very much to real estate. My social media is to who I am, but I spend very little time. It's not about the following because it doesn't matter. Maybe because I'm a baby from the 80s, right? We grew up, imagine, we grew up back then. Make sure you don't, talk to strangers. And that's the one thing we do. We're inviting strangers all the time. Don't get into a stranger car. Now we live on Uber. Everything we were taught not to do, don't be a follower. Don't be a follower. Now, if you don't have a follow, you want to be everybody's following. That's all we do on social media. When we grew up, we were taught, be a leader. Don't be a follower. Now everybody's on social media being followers. It's crazy. So that's how I analyze these things. It's really, is this what I want for my future generations?
It's funny that you say that because you tapped on a couple of things, but one of the things is core values. And the people that associate in our business with our team and my family, you got to be, and I think you brought a lot of wisdom there. You got to know what your core values are as a person. And also you got to know what your core values are in business,
yes.
Right? Because a lot of the times people also mix them, but they're two different things. Yep. Obviously they do align, with each other because you want to obviously work with people and associate with people who are, respect, will keep their word, etc. But and those were your core values, and I think that your core values from back then, they're still as strong as it is today. Yep. That they're still as powerful as it is today. But identifying and knowing exactly who you are, what you're doing, and one of my, the guests that we had here, Alex, it says, knowing and being your true authentic self.
Yep. And it's called, one of them is business maturity and having core values. Those are the two things, and I think that's how people get lost in translation. I tell you, I'm blessed because I always have these conversations. Like today, you were asking me about my husband. We're always together, because that's how we enjoy ourselves because I'm gone. Like this morning, I was gone at 8 in the morning, and I'm not going to be back home till 6 o'clock. Obviously Sundays, it's not usually this long of a day today, because I'm leaving on a couple of days this week. So it was a little bit of a, longer schedule, but it is who you hang around yourself. You have to decide, it's not about the social media. You don't have to see yourself at the party. You don't have to see yourself at every scene because you know what? That's not me. That's not what matters. What matters is my why. And people are always talking about their why, but their whys are at home. You know where I'm at? When I'm not at work, I'm with my whys at home. So that's what I don't like about social media.
That's beautifully said. No, I mean, it's just it's crazy, right? Because we tend what you said, that's what we focus on, right? This guy, he's an influencer. Oye, anda ya de metiche que en el
Ahí vamos para allá.
Sí. So it's just going back to stepping outside of the box and what really matters, right? Focus on, like you said, on your why. The family is what matters, because everyone shares their wins to be para quedar bien con desconocidos, and then closed doors with the family. They're always fighting. They're always arguing. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so that's very important. Yeah.
No, hay muchos. Yeah, definitivamente. Like social media, it's a different animal, and if you don't know how to tame it like correctly, you can get consumed by it, and so many people get consumed by it. I think I'm guilty at times. As long as you're aware of it, it's like, ay, güey, le estoy dando mucha atención a esto. Let me step back and let me continue. But I think if you know your core values as a person, you'll identify right away. Hey, ¿sabes qué? Too much in there.
But I love your social media because you're more, no, it's true, because it's very motivational. It's very motivational. Like, there's people that I follow because, damn, I want to do that too. It's great because you focus on your work, you focus on your wife, you focus on your kids. Those are the three things. And it's like, wow, that's amazing. You're not worried about what everybody else is doing. You're not worried about showing off the fancy cars. You're not you're showing us how to get there. And that's amazing. And that's what that's what I want to learn. So you have a great social media.
Thank you. Yeah. And I think it's just being comfortable and happy with your authentic self. A mí me encanta el fútbol. I love spending time with my family. To this day, I play video games. I'm like, dude, I don't care to say I'm a grown ass man and I play video games. It's just Fortnite. Play me on Fortnite, right? So 25 years in the business right now. You cover a little bit of ground, but tell us a little bit more. What are your current? Maxwell talked about the law of the lid, right? So I do believe that when you're doing the post office, you had kind of like touched the ceiling, right? And that was the lid. Like, so that's why consciously or subconsciously you went into real estate. And then maybe that the lid at that point was, I want to sell, I want to do 15 transactions, 20 transactions. What is your current lid? What are we aiming for? What is that goal for you?
You know what? There is no lid for me, because every time I think it's being uncomfortable, and I love being uncomfortable because that's where growth happens. So it's every so often it's seeing you, Daniel, it's seeing you, Yoni, it's seeing everyone that's doing something that I said, you know what? It all starts with a thought. I always think, okay, if they can do it, I can do it. And it's not a bad thing because we all use each other. That's the great thing about knowing great people that do amazing things, because then they help you. Instead of like some people see it no, you should be happy because of them. Now you have an idea. Well, if they did it this way, now I could do it this way, and it's how we help each other. So for me, it's always about just figuring out, like right now, my main thing is, and I've been working really hard because that famous word sold. And I actually figured out what it stands for. It's selling one listing daily. So that's my goal. See, the 300, it's very basic. And I will do it. All it is SOLD, the sold, selling one listing daily. See?
Wow.
See how easy, see what it is, easy business plan? That's what I'm saying. And once you do that, imagine, once you do that, I mean, technically you've mastered your craft, right? When you've mastered your craft, you can produce at will, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So there you go.
Wow.
Amazing.
I'm telling you, I'm a very few words.
No, chulada. So, and based on your experience, I know with 25 years of high producing, what are the struggles that you see mainly? Let's focus on women right now, right? What are the women that come into the business and either they quit, complain, fail, etc.? What are some most common patterns that you see with women that come into the business?
I think, remember how we had touched about having, knowing your whys, and there's a lot of things you see. Remember how you said I could have given up when I had my kids at the young age of 16? That's the one thing I see that they see. They always say, because I have 3 kids, because I have 2 kids, because I'm a single mom, because I have to cook dinner, because I have to go pick up the kids, that is why I can't. And I think the opposite, that is why you can. Because you do all that, this is nothing. Like, you could totally do it. Think about it, if you're going to go work for someone else, why not change your life, and then the generations to come? Because imagine, we brought our kids into this world to make them better and to leave this place, this world a better place. So imagine just doing that and more. So I think it's more of the excuses, because when I see people, and sometimes I see, because it happened to me, and I'm going to tell you guys the story. Many moons ago, I was with Intero. You guys remember Intero? So I remember the local board, the Downey board. They had what used to be a Rev It Up. They used to have it at the and this is something I always tell every agent when I meet them. And I tell them, you know what? They used to have this thing at the Rev It Up, and I think we're about 4,500 members, right? And I remember I went to this Rev It Up. I'm like, wow, this is so exciting. Everybody was, it's a ton of realtors. And I remember they were going to announce the top 10 realtors for the year. And I said, damn, I'd want to be a top 10 realtor for the month, not only for the year. Imagine just a month. So I was looking at it, and I remember my broker was standing next to me, and I said, wow, that must be so amazing. That's like the best accolade you could ever have as a realtor, right? And I was like, imagine that. And he turns around and looks at me. He goes, you could do it. And I was like, I can? And I was like, and since then, every year. It's like magic. So that's when I learned, you know what? It's here because I've done it. Then I went back on, looking back in my life, te fijas y te pones a pensar. And I'm like, you know what? Exactly. Because every time there's been a change in my life is because I said, you know what? It's possible, and I'm going to do it. It just starts with a thought, and then it happens. So I don't know if that answers the question.
No, I mean, you covered a lot of ground there between the struggles, and I think it's people focus on why, whatever you focus on expands. So si ellos dicen, oh, because of this I can't, well, yeah, well, eventually I always say something that I was like, whoa, is that an affirmation?
That's true.
Yeah.
It's like, no puedo ir because of this, or I only do, and I was like, is that an affirmation? And
Si
then
Dios
people
quiere.
check,
Si
Dios
Dios
quiere,
quiere.
and then they check themselves, right? Like, oh shit, that's not enough. So you cover a lot of ground, but one of my favorite things right now that you said is that whenever you have an aha moment, you think.
Yeah.
Remember, you and I had that conversation that we talked with Ricardo, and Ricardo told us, are you making time to think? And I was like, wow. I was like, and obviously it comes from Maxwell's teachings because.
Oh, Acevedo.
Mm-hmm.
What a brilliant man.
Yeah. So a lot of times we go through our day y pues we don't unwind. We just kind of, a la hora que nos agarra el sueño, we'll go to sleep, etc. Right? But he's like, no, we got to make time to think. Was I aligned with my core values? Did my actions align with my values? Did I say what was I going to do? Time to think and reflect. And that what you did there is like, oh, I thought, and I think it's very powerful to think, like to make time to think. And I was like, oh, I could apply this. Or, you know what, this is awesome because something, this person that inspires me a lot kind of, said this sermon or whatever, and this aligns with, I'm kind of, let's just say, I'm on the right path because it aligns with my values, and it's just making that time to think.
If you see I just need a glimpse of something and it'll happen. Like I just need something out of nothing. I will make something out of it. That's why I said your mind is so powerful, and that's something I do every day. I try to find 3 things. Okay, out of today, what can I do with this? And it just grows. And that's why I said I never underestimate a seminar. That's why I've been to Mike Ferry. I go at least once a quarter, and everybody's like, why are you going again? I said, because every time I go, I learn something new. Call me the dumbest person on this planet, but it's like, I need to go again. And I don't care if I go for the next 30 years, I'm sure I'll learn something new every single day. So
what is a advice you could give the audience who struggle with that though? Because it's easier said than done, right? Like it's just in your mind, you see it, you make something out of nothing. But what if you don't see that opportunity out of nothing? Like, what do you recommend, or what are some guidance you could give the audience?
That's something deep, because I know the one thing I think, if you reverse engineer it all starts with the mindset. So you have to start building that muscle. You have to start building that muscle that no matter what you see, remember how we were talking earlier, Daniel? I was telling you how everything I see, there's the good and the bad. So it's a choice, just like anything else. It's a choice. So it's a muscle. It becomes a muscle, and no matter what, I could be a person that today I lost $1,000, and I'm going to say, what a blessing, because thank you, Jesus, because I don't know who needed it, but thank you. Thank you for doing that. No matter what happens, I'm going to figure out a way why it's something good. And it's a muscle. That's why I said nothing will ever get me upset at all. Because, you know, it's always going to be something good, and it happened for a reason, and I'm blessed. Because that happened, it's either, you're either going to learn from it or you're going to grow from it. And that's it. There's no other way, because it's, why change it? It's like worrying about something that's not going to fix it. So why even worry about it? So I'm a person that I really don't worry about anything, because I know everything's going to work out. So then if everything's going to work out, so then why not just, remember, if you knew you could not fail, you would do it. So that's why I always do it, because I know that I'm either going to learn or I'm going to grow. So there is no failure, no matter what happens. And if you have that outlook, you know.
And that's just and that's one of the reasons why I'm Failing Forward. It's one of my favorite books, right? Because of what you just said right now. Because we tend to hit a wall and that's it. We won't turn around, find a way out.
Yeah.
We just hit the wall and that was it. And that book explains and gives you a lot of topics on that. So
yeah, it's kind of like getting a different perspective of failure, you know. Like, oh, I might have failed here because God actually wants a bigger outcome for me. Maybe not materialistic, but sabes que no se hizo este trato because let's just say real estate terms, this escrow fell. Maybe it was already going to be a bad escrow, you know. So let's just go. So you know, and it's because we could easily start going to like, fuck, I don't know if this is for me. I haven't got paid in 2 months, But it was like, hey, either way, it was probably gonna fall because I don't know, termites, I don't know, bunch of things, right?
Or you could end up in court. It could be many things. That's why whenever JJ always gets mad at me because I'm the one that kills a deal so fast. Because I'm like, no, you're not going to threaten me with that. I'm like, we're out, you know, because you never know. Like, that's why I said, always take it as a blessing. Like, whatever happens, it's a blessing. Like, whether it happens, because think about it, even if you're at your lowest, then guess what? You can only go up. If you're up, you're already enjoying the reaps. So where is the bad? You know, it's like, it's always good. Like, you know, so I don't know.
When I first bought my first house, I was scared, right? I was scared. I was like, I bought a fourplex. Oh, wow. And I told one of my friends who had a lot of influence on me, he had a couple of properties. Y le dije, hey, Ramiro, like, I want to buy, and but I'm scared. And then he's like, mijo, a little older than me, right? And he's like, no te preocupes. He said, what's the worst that can happen? And then I was like, no, pues que la perdamos. Dice, ¿y cómo llegamos a este país? Pues con nada.
Exactly. You see what I mean? And it's so funny because you mentioned that, because when we bought our first property, right? Remember, I was 18. I really wanted to buy 5 units. I really, really wanted to buy 5 units. Remember, and we had the money because we had the 20%. All we needed was 5% more. And I told my husband, and I found this beautiful property. And he's like, no. And I was like, why not? And he's like, because I don't want tenants. Tenants are problems. You know, my dad always told me, right? His parents always told him tenants are problems. I'm like, oh, I want those problems. But, you know, you have to respect, you know, it's a marriage, and, you know, you have to agree, and, you know, but it reminded me of that story, you know, kind where, you know.
Where's that going to happen?
And that's power too, what you just said, the story with Ramiro. Mm-hmm. Because it's true, right? We tend to, especially because I came from, you know, I was born in Mexico, and my family, and we came, and I did grow up with the fixed mindset environment, and even to this point. But it's true, like, we tend to limit ourselves because we're scared to lose something that we don't have.
But Daniel, then you're the perfect example. Then if you had, coming from Mexico, right, and your parents, you said it was like a fixed mindset. How did you get out of that? Like, how did you break out of that mindset? Because that's your family. I mean, yeah. How do you get out?
I started with the book.
Really?
With Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Who brought you that book?
Ty Lopez.
Oh. Wow.
Shout out to Ty. I know you're getting lawsuits.
Yeah. No, he did.
Wow.
And then for some reason, that's when Yoni started shifting his social media to personal growth.
Yeah.
And that's when I reached out to him.
Wow.
Y era un desmadre.
Really?
Party a lot.
Porque, sí me dijo que eran bien parranderos.
Pisteado y todo acá. But
I was telling my girl the stories, and he's like, Daniel, ¿cómo que haces esto? Does your mom even know this? I'm like, she don't gotta know.
no,
ya cambiamos.
si supiera. Si supieran todo. You know, we come from a very similar, you know, desmadre, norteños and all that thing. So you touch a couple of things that you believe kind of like the start of everything is mindset, right? You know, just take yourself out of like Maxwell says, the bigger picture. You know, take yourself a third eye. It's someone you don't know and you want to dummy it down and don't say, you want to simplify it. Hey, like I'm struggling in the business. I'm going through a divorce. You talk about, you tell me, Yoni, it's just mindset. You know, work on your mindset. What do you mean by mind? Let's just kind of break it down a little bit more simple, because you and I kind of, I think we understand what mindset is, but can you simplify it? Or how would you explain for someone who's going through those problems that I explained?
I think it starts, it's just a very simple step. Like, how do you eat an elephant? You know, one bite at a time. It's kind of like in the morning waking up and figuring out, okay, like, what did I do yesterday, right? What could I have done differently, right? It starts as simple as that. Now, what am I going to do differently tomorrow, right? So it's like celebrating that one victory a day. I think it's just, and if no one is okay with it, that's okay, because I'm okay with it. You know, like you said, we came into this world on our own and we're leaving on our own. So it's going to be like that song, My Way. So, and you have to be okay with that. And that's one thing I have. And I don't know if it's good or bad, but I really don't. And it might sound horrible, but I really don't care and don't value anyone else's opinion but my own. And I think that has to do a lot with it. But like you said, I was raised like that, right? But I just think if you just start in the morning, just evaluating yourself and saying, okay, so what am I going to do different today? I'm going to write down 3 things that I'm going to do different today. If I accomplish just one, that's a victory. Then that means, you know what? I won. Today I won. Okay, let me win 2 days. Let me win 3 days. And it becomes a muscle. And I think that's the easiest way to accomplish it. And if you don't have someone out there that's gonna give you that props and cheer you up, then you know what? You get yourself a good book, you get yourself a good journal, and every day you just write your wins. You don't write anything that went wrong, just your wins. And you save it. Your book for 2025, your book for 2026. 2026, okay, I'm not having such a good day. Let me go back to 2025. That's how I did it. That's how I had the most amazing year. Let me do that again. Because imagine being your own author of your own life and your own story. You can do it. I mean, writing your wins every day. Right?
Dude, it's funny that she says, because we do that. We
really?
journal. We have I've been journaling for like 8 years. We've probably been journaling together for almost 4. Yeah, just around there. And just every day, similar thing, and whatever we focus on expands. So if you're focusing, just like you said, having a rough day, going back, and I don't think you could have simplified it any better. The definition of mindset is just breaking it out one step at a time, because we could talk about all these crazy things a little bit more. I wouldn't say advanced. I would just say a little bit more detailed. But I think that's the easiest way to break it down to someone who's having a rough start in the business with their spouse, significant other, and if you focus just one bite at a time, right?
Yeah, just one thing, just what's important to you, because what's important to you might not be important to me, and that's okay, because remember, you're here for yourself, not for anyone else. It's like, so
that's very key, because we tend to want to make everyone happy, like we just talked about Friday, right? Like, we want to make everyone happy, but you're not happy with yourself.
Yeah.
Like, you can't save someone who is drowning, and both of you are drowning at the same time.
And that's the one thing, like what you see today is what I am at 4 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, 8 o'clock at night. It's like always being the best version of yourself, because you know what? There's no regrets, because I showed up as myself. No one told me you're going to do this, you're going to do that. Nope. I did the way I wanted to do my way.
Dude, you're living through Stoicism. Marcus Aurelius, which to me was the best Stoic, talks about memento mori, which memento mori means that you can die today.
Yes.
And if obviously I wish you live a lot of years.
Thank you.
But in the event that we pass today, like, we're happy because every day or at least till the last day, we were just ourselves, happy, positive, being the light of the room, etc. And I feel like, based on what you're telling me, that's you're living every day through Memento Mori.
Oh my gosh, everybody tells me that because I say that every day. Because, you know, when people are saying, you know what, I mentioned this more than once. Like, I'm always saying that, you know what? It's like, oh, people are like, oh, don't feel bad. I tell them every day because, you know what? And I tell my husband, you know, the biggest blessing that I get every day is that if God remembers me today and said, hey, I need you today, I'm okay. Because you know what? I've lived the best life. And don't you cry for me, because I've had the best life, the best time. And I couldn't have done it any other way. So if today is my day to die, I said, I've lived my life and I could have lived a better life. So crazy. Yeah.
I'll clap it up for sure. That's amazing.
That's very good.
Thank you.
Honestly, based on everything that you're saying, I don't know if it's going to be a food for thought for you, but this is a journey that we're on. I think together, and a couple of guys from our mastermind, and you're dropping a lot of wisdom. And guys, take a bunch of notes. But Maxwell says something really powerful, and then he's like, let's just say I'm gonna mentor you, right? And if anything, I'm gonna get mentored by you. But Maxwell says like, hey, Annabelle, take Yoni to mentor him and take him with you so he can see what you're doing, right? Second phase is Anabella, take Yoni so he can do it and you're auditing him, right? What's the second phase? Send Yoni so he could do it on his own. Yeah. What's the next phase? Is send Yoni and send Daniel so he can do it with Yoni. So now you get to pass the wisdom to me, and I get to pass it to him. And part of like the culture is that you can't leave our company until he's on his own.
That's chills.
That's
chills. That's fulfillment right there.
Yeah. Como dice Maxwell, because they're the piece of leadership, right? Permission, position, permission, production, and pinnacle is the ultimate level of leadership. And it just tells me, it's like everything that you told me, that you help a couple of people a few people that wanted to quit, and then they stayed, right? And I do believe, based on, because like it or not, people go based on production, and you produced a lot, right? But now I do believe you're in that phase. It's like you're getting ready to teach a lot more people. Yes. So that's very powerful, man. You just kind of me acordaste de todos los dots about Maxwell, and I was like, dude, she's her. Yeah. She's her.
You know what? You know how we were talking about Los Bukis? Everybody knows that's my favorite. But Maxwell, like, that's the man I want to meet. He is the ultimate of the ultimate. Maxwell.
Yeah.
I just started reading because of the monthly book, and yeah, all of his books are so good.
So you guys read a book a month?
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow. How many pages a day?
I'll read we read that as a group, and then we have kind of our own individuals. I'll read about an hour a day.
Oh, okay. So it's not that bad.
Yeah. I read a chapter a day.
So when you guys do that, obviously, because you have such busy lives, you're doing not only for yourself, but you're building for others and helping others. How is it that you incorporate that 1 hour? Is it that you invite your family to do so too? I mean, how do you incorporate that hour of reading?
I do it on my free time, as in, like, we wake up in the morning, like, before I go to work. So I'll do my journal, or like on my way.
So what time does that look for you?
5. I wake up
5?
at 5.
Okay.
Yeah, for me, we're getting interviewed over here, huh?
Yeah.
Pero, we just sacrifice a little bit of sleep. I'll wake up at 3:45, and I'll do my whole morning routine for like 2 hours between reading, prayers, and meditations and journaling. I'll take an hour and a half to 2 hours. I just love it. That's kind of like my time, and I do believe that if I want to show up as as the best father, husband, son, etc., I have to just kind of be good within myself. And Ricardo, who's a big influence in me, he told us something very powerful, and it hit me like really hard, which you're probably gonna like it, right? But he said that we had a certain amount of success, and it's a pretty good success because we built a 2-story building, right? But when we saw the bigger vision, I was like, no, like I actually, and I had a pretty good foundation on on my personal development. But once we got, let's just say, to the 2-story building, we no longer wanted a 2-story building. We wanted a skyscraper. So what that required? It required a bigger foundation, reinforcement, which is in the path where I'm personally on the leadership. And that's why I read every day. I get inspired every day. I wake up, it's like, I get to read every day, right?
Wow.
And sometimes I might not read that full hour. Maybe it's going to be 30, 45 minutes. We adjust depending on the day. But that's how we look forward to the reading every day.
Oh, wow. Because that's kind of like one thing I do, because I don't believe in alarm clocks. So I wake up at those hours, believe it or not, but I'm just so excited to start my day that it's like, that's why I've never, I shouldn't say never, because I used to be a good sleeper, but now it's like I'm so excited about starting my day that it's very rare that I use an alarm to wake up. I beat the alarm almost every day. I'm gonna say about 95% of the time.
There's Thomas, I forgot his name, but they know him as the hip hop preacher. He says the same thing, like, be so excited that you don't need an alarm clock to wake up.
It's so crazy.
Yeah.
I truly
because you're living through significance. Like everything you're doing has meaning.
Yeah.
You know, Victor Bawo was his name, Boko, searching for meaning. Mm-hmm. The guy who survived the Holocaust.
Oh wow!
And he's, you know, because he was surviving because he knew he had a bigger meaning than just dying in the Holocaust, right?
It's great conversation so far, but has it always been like this though, with that mindset, or can you share with us some of the struggles that you had to overcome as you started your career with real estate, and what it was, and did you think you were gonna just give up, and if so, well, there's like 5 questions in one, right? And if so,
oh my gosh, I'm sorry, go ahead and finish, but you gave me an aha moment. Go ahead and finish your question, but it was an aha moment.
That was it. Like after you had that struggle, that was like the make it or break it, and how did you overcome it?
You know, it's going back, I start thinking, right, analyzing, right, because you're trying to help so many people and so many people in the industry, and you start thinking, do you want to, because in order to be able to help them, you have to understand them, right? So it's like when you're speaking to your toddler, you have to, and it's not that I'm referencing them as a toddler, I'm just saying for the means of conversation, just for basic understanding, right? When you're speaking, like for example, when I want to speak to my grandbaby, I have to go down, right, to be at his eye level. So it's more like, that's kind of like I'm making like, you know, como para darse una idea, but it's, I try to understand, and I said, okay, what was my mindset back then? Because I always tell them, I'm like, you just see, I remember when I started in the real estate, I would walk in and I would see, you know, you always see those agents, they're like, damn, another sale, another listing. And I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, and I'm over here like, you know, wow, you know, it's like you felt like, oh my gosh, if you had one listing a month, I'm like, okay, I'm a little badass, you know, I get a listing a month. But you start seeing that, and I started seeing like what they would do, right? So I started seeing, okay, now I know what they do, right? And then, but then along the line, you get comfortable, because you start doing things, then you get comfortable, because you start saying, okay, well, they leave at this time, I could leave at that time too, you know. And then with anything, you know, you stop practicing, and then your progress goes like this. So I remember I tell them, you know, for there was years where I only had one sale a year, and I was like, oh my gosh, for the life of me, I couldn't produce a sale. And I was like, oh my gosh. And then so I switched offices, right, thinking that it was the office, right? But it's not. It's the mindset. It's what we have here. Because think about it. It's that same person that can deliver this or can deliver this. Mm-hmm. And there's nothing that no one else out there can do for you. It's whatever you believe, that's what's going to happen, right? So I remember just thinking that. And I remember we were at this one office, and we were with a couple of my friends, the agents. And I said, you know what? This year's gonna be different. I said, because I had already done sales. I had come from doing 45 units. I had done great. Then all of a sudden I found myself doing 8 deals a year. I'm like, wait a minute, something's happening here. But then I still didn't understand. I was privy to understanding the value of knowing that I can do it, which is why I would do it, but I didn't understand how, right? So then I remember, I don't know who got me into the book Napoleon Hill with Think and Grow Rich. And I don't remember if it was my husband or something he had told me. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to do this. And I said, you know what? This is my year. I'm done. I'm done with this. I just want this, right? And so remember, I had great mentors. I knew I could do this. I knew this was a possibility. So it was just me. So I got the book and I created a book club. And it was maybe about 6 of us. And with that book club, there was, with the Think and Grow Rich, there's a workbook that you could do. So I remember I did that workbook and I told them, I said, this year, no matter what, we're going to do 20 transactions. They're like, well, how are you going to do 20 transactions? I'm like, I don't know. I'm just going to do them. Magic. Within 6 months, 20 transactions. Wow. So that's when I said, you know what? That's exactly what I thought. Wow. I said, you know what? So when I did 45, it was my choice. When I did 20, it was my choice. When I did 1, it was my choice. And since then, I said, never again. And then that following year, remember, was when I had that conversation with my broker and we were at that Rev It Up, the top 10. And since then, that's why I said it's never changed. So that's why I said it's a mindset. Isn't that crazy?
No, I mean, you covered a lot, not only the mindset, but you touched something really, really powerful there. That I don't know if that associate, not to finger point or anything, but that association told you, how are you going to do that?
Uh-huh.
But if you have, and not that if you have a right mindset, but I think if the goal, the dream is bigger, then that won't really do anything to you. But, so check your circle of influence because if you're not that, if your mindset's not that trained and developed, you could easily say, you know what, you're right. Like, how am I going to do that, right? So, and then you can start believing that, and then just like, you know what? Well, at the end of the day, like, let's just, have another drink.
You know what? You're right, and that's the power of association and proximity, because you think it really, no matter how strong your mindset is, but you think about it, who you surround yourself with. If it's you're doing good compared to what. So you always have to be careful with that, because you can always be the best of the best, but compared to what, right? Yeah. And so you always have to be humble enough to find someone better to be able to get there, because we all need help. Even when we all say we got here alone, but no, someone brought us here. Someone had to hold us. Alguien nos trajo en su vientre and someone had to bring us here, right? So no, we didn't come here alone. There's always that support system. You just have to figure out who's that support, who's that lifeline that's going to help you. Right?
I think your commitment was a lot bigger, y por eso ignoraste that comment, they're like, oh, how are we going to do this, right? But then, you continue to grow, and as you said, just put yourself in rooms and, environments where they're forced to grow, right? In a growth environment mindset that you're always continuing to grow. And as, I do believe you're on that journey now, and it took you, I'm going to go back to your question. So maybe because you have such a strong mindset now, or you've always had, and obviously stronger. What are some bigger struggles that kind of like shaped you, right? My experience, I was in prison, right? That's one. Second, I had a surgery 3 times in my eyes, etc. Right? So what are some and I wish I knew the book Failing Forward at the time, because I went on a year depression after the jail situation. So have you had any or just God has been so good to you at any time, but any setbacks that you had in your life?
First of all, God has been good to all of us, and every single day, because think about it, we're here because of all that we went through, is that we're able to do more. And yes, and I was having this conversation because I took my daughter-in-law to have her ultrasound, and I was having a conversation with the tech. I remember when I was delivering my babies, I was 16, and the nurse actually told me, what are you doing having babies? Like, you don't even know how to raise kids. And I was like, imagine that, how sad it is as a mom, it's like to hear that you're not good enough to be a mom. Imagine. And I challenged her to bring her kids versus my kids. I'm like, yes, ma'am. Home run. But those are the things. And then obviously knowing the struggles, because my husband is legally blind. So for me, it's always been, how people, remember how we were going back about people complaining about how, hey, it's like, I don't have help, I don't do this, I can't do this, well, I was the sole driver for the entire, there was, when I started in his business, when we started his business, I would work at the post office. And if anybody's ever worked at the post office, I used to start maybe 3 o'clock in the morning, because we used to live in Linwood. I used to drive all the way to the San Fernando Valley, carry for 12 hours, drive back, take the kids, take them. And then my day off on Sunday, my husband does commercial cleaning. So it's always at night. So then I wouldn't sleep. I would go help him, because we couldn't afford to have help. And then the next morning, get up, take the kids to school, go to work. So, I mean, we went like days without sleeping. Talk about like now, when any challenge you give me, hey, at least I can sleep at night.
Yeah,
right? I mean, I get to go to bed, Those are some of the challenges. And when you see, when you've been out there, when the struggle is real and you're trying to make ends meet, you have a mortgage and you really don't have money to put gas in your car, and it's just that blind faith that everything's going to be okay. How could it not be okay?
Yeah.
You've lived through the worst, and you've made it happen, so it's just.
No, I think you've had your own struggles as well, but your attitude, just kind of oversees the struggle, right? I think Dios te dio un don, and ahí está tu don.
Yeah, ser feliz.
It's
Envía, me vale madre todo.
I have a saying with my friends. It's like, me la pelan todos. Right?
No, me vale
but
madre.
it's just kind of saying like that. Same thing.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
So now with everything, your mindset, everything that you've learned and everything you've been through, you're going through, what's yet to come, what is one advice you would give your younger self?
One advice I would give my younger self would probably be start sooner and make mistakes faster, and everything's going to be okay.
Super.
Bam. Nice and short. Chulada.
I'm telling you, I'm a person of very few words.
Yeah, concise, powerful, to the point.
Yep.
Como decimos, al grano. Mm-hmm. Al grano. And then I'm going to go piggyback on that. I know that's great advice. What does it look like for you in the next, what are you focusing on? Does it look like for you in these next 3 years? What are some goals that you want to share with us?
Sorry, before you actually do that, I did want to, before I forget, you did mention a couple times 5 years from now. So what I'm taking away from now, from this, aside from everything else, that's 5 years from now. Like, this is gonna matter. I always look ahead. We always tend to look at tomorrow.
Yeah.
Or maybe the end of the week. Never 5 years from now. Yeah. So I feel like that has a lot to do with growth and empowerment, because if it's 5 years from now, like, do I focus on it today or not?
If
So
it's not going to
powerful.
matter 5 years from now, why spend 5 minutes on it?
Yeah.
Like, it's really not going to matter, right?
Yeah, sorry, I just had to say
No,
like
that was powerful, dude.
Oh, thank you.
No, so just
But get back to his question, sorry.
ahora sí, what does it look like for you? I know you're selling real estate, and the goal is to sell one per day, right?
Yeah.
But what does it look like? Any growing teens, mentorship. What does it look like? I wanna get to know you.
What I would love is to get to that level where, like I said, I'm selling 2 a day. Dios es grande, 2 a day, and and just being able to bring kids that have said, you know what, I can't do this. Someone told me I can't. And because they told you can't, watch how you can. That's what I want to do, leave. And then the people that are like, that can't afford to pay for that mentorship, that can't afford to pay for the coaching, just help them. Be there, like, just be anywhere in the world and I can help them. Just give them 1 hour, 2 hours, and then say, okay, give me what happened today. Let's see how we can fix it for tomorrow. And this is your game plan. And when you do this, you're going to get this. And because of us, they became someone better. I mean, that's my goal, to be able to have that financial freedom that I could just sit there and just help people 8 hours a day. Like, that's my job. Like, just sit there and help people. That's if I could just sit here and just, okay, bring me your questions, and it's like, and then you come back next week and you tell me, I did this. That's when I've hit the lottery. That's when I feel, that's fulfillment to me.
So it sounds like that because you said I want to, or you're going to.
I'm going to.
Try.
That's my difference. Yes, you caught me. Yes, I'm
You're
going
doing
to
it
do it.
now, though, right? It seems like.
But not enough. I think not enough. And the blessings that have happened and how I'm doing it, I just want to get better so I have that validity that I can do it for them. Because remember, they have to have that blind belief until they see it. And I want to be able to say, no matter who's in front of me, I can change you. I can help you.
Yeah. Maxwell says, these people who you have influence, they believe you. They like, I believe her. But and Maxwell says it, right? The goal is for them to believe it.
Yes.
That's the goal. Like, if you believe in me, but the goal is for me to believe the vision that we're seeing together.
Exactly.
I think that's where you're going. And Ricardo is doing something similar with his Temecula team.
Yeah.
Something similar, and he's lo mismo está haciendo with his Temecula team with the whole baseball situation, and the kids that don't go to college. Shout out Ricardo, los está invitando to change their life to real estate.
Wow. See, that's something amazing right there. Yeah.
So, but it seems like we're pretty much all on the same track. No, because the secret of living is giving, and we want to give back.
And people think it's money, and it's not money. It's like, it's because you can give someone $1, right? But it's like inflation. I mean, that $1's not going to be worth much. But if you teach them how to earn that $1, I mean, it's like you've changed a kid for life, right?
Facts.
And I mean, like you said, right? It could also be just like words of encouragement. It doesn't have to be.
See, porque not everyone's gonna want to do real estate. Not everyone wants to do sales, right? But if you can, show them that mindset, as we've been talking on mindset, surround yourself, making them aware. And I do believe, in my opinion, that the number one law is the law of awareness. And as long as they're aware, that's it. As long as you're aware, this is the career you want to put chingon. Just be aware, and then having good values. Right, going back to it, just the simplest things: having good values, having good your surround system, your peers, who's going to influence you.
And you know what? It's kind of funny because that's how you start the beliefs. Like remember how we said with our babies, like just teaching them, just learn to do good at just drinking your bottle. Be good at just learning to go to the bathroom. Be good at going to school. And being the best student. Being the best student doesn't necessarily mean the one that has the best grades. Being the best student is the one that shows up with the best attitude, the one that's the best team player, the one that keeps that camaraderie, within the students, the one that keeps it together and shows up every day, no matter how bad it gets. That could be the best student. It doesn't necessarily equate to having the best grades. And that's what I think a lot of people, like you said, it doesn't necessarily have to be in real estate. It's just teaching them how to have that best mindset and show up the best version of yourself every day and any day, anything you do.
No, thank you so much. I know Daniel's gonna wrap up with a few questions. I know we took about an hour or so from your time, and we wanna, thank you. You wanna go with the final?
Yeah. So we got the rapid fire questions. Have you seen our podcast? It's just 2 words. You choose whichever one you prefer or you like best. So to start off, we got books or podcasts.
That's hard, but I'm gonna say books because I love books.
High risk, high reward, or slow and steady?
Repeat it again.
High risk, high reward, or slow and steady?
High risk.
Crypto or stocks?
Stocks.
Impact or income?
Impact.
Resistance or flow?
Flow.
Truth or peace?
Truth. That's 100% me.
Football or football?
Football.
Oh, no. Reading, since you like books, reading or audible?
Reading.
Boxing or UFC?
Boxing.
La chancla or timeout room?
Oh, la chancla.
Last one, rancheras or hip hop?
Oh, rancheras.
Cool. I mean, those are pretty much it, but interesting picks.
Interesting
Really?
picks. Yeah.
Usually we tend to you were just straight to it, right? We have truth or peace. We usually get a lot of backlash from it, like, oh, well, truth is peace, and then peace is they kind of complement each other.
I'm very 3,
But
2,
you're
1.
just like, yep.
Mel Robbins. It's like I make a decision so fast.
Al chile, al grano.
So fast. Yeah, it's like I never, and you know what? That's the one thing I never live with regret. You know why? And that's what I tell people all the time. And I tell them, you know what? Don't ever regret anything you've done or what you've done in life. You know what? Because at any given time when you made that decision, you made it based on the options you had. And you didn't do it based on knowing that you were going to hurt yourself. You thought that was the best decision for you at that. So deal with it, learn from it, and grow with it. That's why I said don't ever regret anything that happened. It was your decision and it's your life.
Man, that's growth mindset there.
What else how else can we end this podcast with, guys? That was. I'm not even gonna end it. Have our guests here. Just keep talking, please. No, but
that was
amazing.
very powerful there. Before we log off, I want to just because you answered a couple of the rapid fire questions, pretty interesting. What's your definition of success?
My definition of success is being able to wake up on a daily basis and when you want, where you want, and at the time you want, and doing what you want with who you want and when you want.
Chulada.
Sí.
No?
No.
Right?
Todo, the whole conversation.
Mic drop.
Por eso digo, will we just conclude it? Or
No, but thank you so much for making
Thank
time to
you.
come in on a Sunday.
Awesome.
Daniel, congrats on your business. I know
Thank
you
you, thank
started
you.
launching the detail business for
Yeah,
the
yeah,
airplanes. So if you guys know anybody who has a business, who has an airplane, right?
An airplane, yes.
You know, y necesitan
Chineada.
chanearlo a una chaneada ahí.
Really?
Get a hold of Daniel. If you're not already liking, following, subscribing, commenting, whatever on the podcast, make sure you do so. If you got some value from today's podcast, share it for someone who might, need a little bit of guidance from, an empowering woman in Southern California. I know you're based somewhere here in LA, Orange County. Can you,
Montebello, San Gabriel.
that, and how can people get a hold of you?
You guys can follow me on Instagram, Anabella the Realtor, or my number is 323-304-5760.
Always closing.
We'll put that in the descriptions, but also if you could reach out for great mentorships to both of these guys here, and as well you could go in person, right, Yoni? Because he's having a meetup. This is gonna be out before the meetup, so if they see it, they're gonna find the details.
Hopefully there's still a couple of spots left. Y pues sí, ahí los miramos.
Si no, pues de afuerita, pero what matters is showing up and meeting someone that one person could change your life. So
thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Anabella.
Well, thank you guys. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. We'll see you guys on the next one.
Fuga.
Vámonos.